Yeah, sorry. She's not on the list. I don't see her on here. What's up, guys? How you doing? Welcome back to another episode of me recording an audiobook. Eric, you need on my live. LMAFAO. Yeah, because she doesn't follow you on my soul. I thought she followed me. I saw her on here. I could have sworn I seen her on here. I don't know. I could be wrong. Eric, I'm your top fan here. Are you proud of me? Yes, I am proud of you. I am so proud of you, Ryan. Welcome to the top fan. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Ask her. I don't know how I would go about asking for her. I got books to read and stuff. I don't know how we'd go about asking her. I'm sorry. I love you, but I don't know. I don't know what that process is like. All right, we're on chapter 10. This makes my existence completely validated. Thank you. That smile's all worth it. Hey, thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate that. Ty, what's up, Ty? Good to see you, Ty. Hello. Well, it's good to see you, Twitch. Hello, Twitch. Good to see you, Twitch. Good to see you, Kick. What up, Kick? What's good with you? We're going to make an audiobook today. So we're going to do it. Man. I'll tell you what, I'm so tired already. I'm so tired. But we got to get through this. Come cuddle to your Rai. Yes. We all absolutely need a little bit of that today. All right, let's see. Trying to think of like something to put on here, because I don't want this to be the YouTube thumbnail. So I'm trying to use Content Cop, iDubbbz, and Hassan made a Content Cop. Oh, interesting. Okay. That's cool. Let's go view my channel. And oh, that's funny, actually. Eric, turn requests on. I don't think I have it off, right? Save image as this. Is that it? No, definitely not. Wait, no, because I have plus hosts on here, and I feel like I've already gotten a request. No, her invitation is off, because I can invite Toe, but I can't invite her. So that's a her thing. So sorry. My requests are definitely on, but hers are off. But people can invite you? Yeah. Wait, like, I can invite people. Like, look, I can invite Toe, but I can't invite Mayo. Yeah, my allow invitations from friends are on. Yeah, it should be on. I clicked on the thing, it said it should be on. All right, let's see. What thumbnail is this? I think I went to live and I went to popular, and then I went to this one. Hello. Hi, Mayo Toes. How are you today? Swell. Swell. Oh. Hello, Christian. Oh, just reading away. What are you doing tonight? What are we doing? Yo. Wait, can you not? Can you actually not? Is my thing actually muted? Christian wants Mayo. We can't hear you. Yo, what's up, Christian? How you doing? Yeah, I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm kind of sleepy though. All right. What were you doing? What are you setting up for right now? By the way, Christian is like 14. Dude, we can't be having 14-year-olds on here. Can you believe this? Isn't this the song that they would use for like Humane Society commercials? Wait, why? Okay, what? I'm being serious. What's up? Shigo. 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 Reader Rick. Rip. You're on YouTube right now. I think this is a one-party consent state, so I don't think I. Wait, what state are you in? Well, it plays into my legal defense. What state are you in? Yeah, because I'm an ordained minister. I can lead funerals. Whose funeral is this? I love you. I thought you would have ended it. All right, there you go. There you go. That was it. That was it. What's up, Kirsten? How you doing, Kirsten? Good to see you. Hello. How are you today? Whoa. What's up, Twitch? I just got home. Oh no. Is it a late night for you? What happened? Well, you were at the beach. The last we talked, you were at the beach. Were you at the beach all day? Is that what that was? Yeah, because you were watching the sunset. Yeah. Last we spoke, you were watching the sunset. But it's still pretty late. Huh. Was that my grandparents? Okay. They're about a mile up from the water. All right. Love that. Love that. That's a good time. That's a good time. I hope you enjoyed your time with your grandparents. That's always a good time to chat it up with them, you know. Let's see. Save image as this thumbnail. Upload from computer. That. Open. Left there about 11. Dropped off my brother's girlfriend, which is an hour away from there. Then headed home, which is 30 minutes from the girlfriend. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Well, that sounds like you were out there doing a lot. You're out there doing a lot. So, man. See, live popular. Gonna be popular. Alright, okay. Edit video. And then go to this and save image as. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Upload from computer. That. Open. Yeah, and now I'm doing laundry for the morning. For work, gotta sleep, but I gotta stay up. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I feel that too. Where it's just like, oh, I gotta do the rest of this book, but at the same time, like, dude, I am like getting real tired. Tired of this, Grandpa. All right, we got chapter 10 to do. All right, that's the first time I did that. Oh, you missed it? Okay. I did finally send the photos from the beach. Oh, cool. Well, hey, if you missed it, then I got it all recorded on YouTube, so you can check it out there. You can check it out on my YouTube channel, or hey, come on down to Twitch, get it clipped on Twitch. I also get your live clips. That is very true. That is very, very true. What's up, Lex? Good to see you, Lex. How are you? Forgot about that. Shoot. I didn't even know you got those. Oh. I think I went down. On Twitch. Oh, I think I'm back on Twitch. What's up, Twitch? Good to see you guys. Why are you proposing? Because I love you. Went down on Nothing. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, my friend got engaged today? Yes, please. I love that. I said when? Always. 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 Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah, you said that when she was in here. You said that. Hold up. It's all coming back to me now. You were here for that. I know you were in here for that. I'm trying to create a thumbnail design. For my new video that I'm going to drop on YouTube. And I might replace it with a different video, but still. It's thinking. I'm going to say, can you make the thumbnail look like this image? Though. There we go. What's up, Alicia? Good to see you, Alicia. My friends got engaged today. I would love to see what that is about. I would love to see what happened there. Man. I can't believe that my most popular live was because of a thumbnail that somebody else made. That's sad. Okay. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Rationalist Method. Cogito ergo. Cogito ergo sum. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I exist. I think, therefore I exist. I think, therefore I exist. Rene Descartes. Rene Descartes Reflections on First Philosophy. Definition. The rationalist method is an approach to cognition and research. The rationalist method is an approach to cognition and research that asserts the primacy of reason and logical thinking in the process of cognition. This method is based on the assumption that knowledge about the world can be obtained through intellectual and logical comprehension, not only through sensory experience. Landmark figures: René Descartes, Benedict Spinoza, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Application. I think that's how you say it. Check it out. What up, Sean? I think that's how you say Leibniz. Google. Lie. Okay, everybody who says this dude's name says Leibniz. So, if it's not, I'm gonna be real surprised. What's the name? Leibniz. Gottfried William Leibniz. They said Leibniz. All right, let's see how these guys pronounce it. We got 2 seconds into the clip, and then we gotta pull up. How do you say this? Leibniz. Okay, Leibniz. 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 Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Application. The rationalist method. The rationalist method is widely used in philosophy, science, and mathematics to gain knowledge and explain phenomena through local and deductive reasoning. Based on reason, this method is used to analyze concepts, construct theories, and prove claims, allowing researchers and philosophers to reach conclusions based on the internal logic of ideas rather than empirical observations. In philosophy, the rationalist method is used to explore issues such as the nature of being, cognition, and ethics through the logical development of arguments. In science and mathematics, it helps to formulate hypotheses, build abstract models, and prove statements ranging from mathematical theorems to philosophical concepts. Based on rigorous reasoning. The main components of the rationalist method. A. The primacy of reason. In the rationalist method, reason takes the central place as the key tool to cognize the world. In the rationalist method, reason takes the central place as the key tool to cognize the world. This principle holds that the human mind has an innate capacity to grasp basic truths that cannot be deduced from experience. According to rationalism, reason alone, without reliance on sense perception, is capable of penetrating the underlying structure of reality, discovering fundamental laws and relationships. Rationalists argue that certain knowledge, such as mathematical truths or principles of logic, exist independently. Exists independently of sense experience and can be apprehended through pure reflection. For example, mathematical axioms and logical laws do not require empirical verification because they are a priori and necessary to thinking itself. Reason does not merely organize experience, but is capable of formulating laws that explain the world regardless of how it is perceived. All right, I got a break from that. What's up, Heck? Good to see you, Heck. Hello. How are you today? How are you tonight? I watched the new episode of The Last of Us, and it was an emotional watch. I don't know why my chat isn't appearing on here. Do I have to do another Prism chat? Prism Chat 16. That'll tell you how many times it's not worked for me. There we go. I like the presentation here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you know. We gotta have some showmanship. Thank you so much, Kirsten. I appreciate that. Trying to figure out if I can do this. Oh my gosh. Of course. All right. Well, I'm just gonna actually. I got it. Nice. There we go. Bam. YouTube video out there in the world. Prism. Now we're back. All right, cool. Sorry, I was just over on YouTube. All right, here we go. This is what we released. We released drill rap. Drill rap, and that's what we looked at earlier. Damn. Focus, then playtime. Yeah. That's ridiculous. But anyway, hey, that's what we got. I was trying to use ChatGPT to make a image, but it was taking forever. It's still processing by the time I did that. So I'm gonna get out of there. And, go back to here. Yeah, but I seen The Last of Us on there on HBO Max, so that looks like just dawned on me that I haven't seen that in a while, so I'm gonna definitely have to do that at some point here in the near future. Me too, honestly. Hold up. I don't remember recording any of this. What's the last thing I said? I got regardless of how it is perceived, but I don't see that anywhere. What? Oh, there we go. There we go. I got it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Rene Descartes believed that Rene Descartes believed that reason provides access to innate ideas that are independent of experience and precede all perception. These ideas are seen These ideas are seen as absolute and universal, capable of explaining both physical and metaphysical phenomena, including the nature of being, God, and reason itself. B. Intuitive and a priori. Intuitive and a priori knowledge. Rationalists realize that existence of intuitive and a priori knowledge knowledge that can be obtained without recourse to sense experience. A priori knowledge is characterized by the fact that it is accessible through pure thought and is independent of the a priori knowledge is characterized by the fact that it is accessible through pure talent, through pure thought, and is independent of the perception of the external world. And is independent of the perception of the external world. For example, in mathematics and logic, we can deduce certain truths based on axioms and laws of reason without resorting to experiments or observations. A priori knowledge includes statements such as 2 plus 2 equals 4, or the whole is greater than the part, which we grasp through logical reasoning without the need for empirical observation. These truths are taken as an inherent part of the structure of thought. They are immutable and universal. An important element of a priori knowledge is its independence from changes in the surrounding world. Mathematical and logical laws remain true regardless of circumstances. Intuitive knowledge. Intuitive knowledge is the direct apprehension of truth without the need for detailed proof. This knowledge arises as instant understanding or insight when the truth becomes apparent without intermediate steps of reasoning. For example, the statement, the whole is greater than its parts. The whole is greater than its parts. The whole is greater than its part requires no proof because it is logically self-evident. Rationalists believe that intuition makes it possible to understand the basic principles of logic in mathematics without much thought, and serves as a basis for further conclusions. D. Deductive reasoning. One of the key methods of rationalism is deductive reasoning, a process in which conclusions are logically derived. From general principles or premises. In deduction, rationalists see deduction. In deduction, rationalists see deduction as a way of obtaining reliable information that is unchanging and independent of subjective experience. This method gives confidence that if the initial premises are true, then the conclusions will be logically correct and true. Deduction is to derive more specific conclusions from a few axioms or general truths. For example, in mathematics, this is manifested in theorem proving, starting from axioms that are considered self-evident and do not require proof. We can deductively arrive at a set of conclusions that will be strictly logically valid. An example of deduction is proof in geometry. We're using a few basic axioms, for example, that the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. That the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. One can derive many theorems concerning the properties of various geometric figures. Rationalists argue that this process leads to knowledge that does not change and remains true under all conditions because it is based on logic rather than observations of the changing world. D. Analytical thinking. The rationalist method involves analytical thinking, which involves breaking down complex problems into simpler components in order to analyze and solve them thoroughly. This component is based on the assumption that in order to understand any complex problem, it is necessary to break it down into parts, examine each part separately, and then, after analyzing all the elements, assemble them into a coherent structure to find a holistic solution. Analytical thinking allows rationalists to approach problems with precision and clarity. For example, in philosophy or science, a researcher may break down a broad problem into separate aspects. Causes. That's an interesting question. We got, hey, how did you find yourself doing this stuff? Did someone tell you that one day you had a good voice for audiobooks? You do, by the way. Thank you so much. Get the bash. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. Some people definitely tell me that I have a good voice. I just realized that this thing is frozen on here, so I'm glad we took a moment to bring that back. But yeah, basically, I think I've been known to cultivate this voice over. I think it was through high school. I kind of cultivated the voice and sort of got known for that in high school, and always wanted to do the morning announcements, but never got to. But then once I graduated and did some theater, and well, did some theater in high school, then graduated. I approached a guy to be my manager slash agent for acting and modeling, and he actually he first suggested this. This site is called acx.com, and honestly, anybody can get into this. It's the audiobook creation exchange, and you can come in and you can look for projects. You can look for talent if you're an author and you're looking for someone to narrate your book. But even on here, I think one of the coolest things you could do is you can look at other narrators and see how they sound. And you'll notice that, like, we'll go to Philip Payton, for example, and we'll click on that.
The future, you used to chase it, now you're living in it. The Wavefront is an all-electric automobile that propels driving into a new era.
I mean, I can kind of hear it. But there are some of these samples that you listen to and you're like, I feel like I can do better than that. So I think this is a good resource as well to like analyze the differences, the different samples, and hear like the talent pool, and know that no matter where you are, like if you're the same talent, if you're the same like level of training as that person who uploaded, or maybe somebody else who uploaded, if you're that same level of training, like you could put up your own samples and maybe even do your own auditions, and you have equal footing with those people that have the same sort of voice. I think that one of the coolest things that you can do, though, is you can literally just browse all kinds of projects that are on here. And I like it because I can audition for things like crazy and get better at practice of reading, which is really, really good. But once you nail a couple of these auditions, you'll have like, I did 24 auditions. I got 21 offers. 8 are in production, and then I completed these 10. So you can build up your repertoire. You can get good at this. Invest in technology is another thing that you could do. Sorry, I'm like sleep deprived at this point, so I'm trying my best with this. But yeah, I appreciate the feedback. Seriously, thank you. But yeah, ACX is something that I really recommend anybody get into. It's definitely, I think I have a couple different videos of breaking it down, but it's really easy to make an account, and I don't even think they make you audition on here, to be honest. There's another thing called Voice Bunny, which they source projects for voiceover work, and I think you have to audition for that one. But real quick audition, I got in with my Logitech mic back in the day, and I upgraded from the Logitech to the Samson CO1U. Pretty all right, about $80, but honestly, it's a solid quality microphone. I've suggested it to my girlfriend. I think she could be great for this. I love that. That's so cool. I definitely would send this site to her, acx.com. Really cool website to get started. And I mean, of course, I've got the Shure SM7B, but I just have the means to invest in something this good. You can start with something as simple as either a Logitech or a Samson CO1U. Very like, I think the Samson CO1U is kind of like middle ground sort of thing. It's like around $100. You're kind of putting some money where your mouth is, literally. But this mic, if you can shell out 500, this thing is fantastic. Done. Thanks, man. I have a Yeti at the moment. Oh, Yeti's fantastic. Definitely do a Yeti. At the moment, we could upgrade for sure. I think honestly you could do well with the Yeti. I think you could do a lot with the Yeti. Also, huge thing that was a major game changer in the last like month or so for me is this thing called Descript. Check this out. This thing is fantastic. Not only does it do videos here, but you can also upload projects, just audio projects. And what it does is I'll upload my raw audio into here and it'll create a transcript. And you can actually edit based on the words, or you can come into the timeline and edit from here. But one of the things that I love the most about this is you can go to this Underlord AI agent and you can remove the retakes. And if I ported something in here that was like an hour and a half long and I hit remove retakes, it would identify like the 500 instances where I redid a take, and it will remove them all automatically. Or you go by, and I recommend this, check them all out piece by piece and make sure that each one is actually a retake. But once you do that, it'll like trim your hour and a half raw audio down to like 45 minutes. And then it's so much more seamless to go through and from that viewpoint, click and drag things, take out more of the residuals, shift over the timing. It cuts your editing down by like 2/3. This thing is like $35 a month or whatever. Totally worth it in my opinion. I've paid editors hundreds of dollars to do this, and I can do it in like 45 minutes seamlessly. This thing is phenomenal. If you get into this, or if your girlfriend gets into this, I would definitely get this program called Descript. This thing made my life so much easier. That's a great tip for once you're into this stuff for sure. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. I try to give this to as many people as possible because I've been banging my head. Like anyone that's been watching my stuff can attest. I've been banging my head against a wall for months trying to like edit things down. And I spend most of my time editing and it's so frustrating. I've screenshotted it. Awesome. Please. Yeah. It's called Descript. Very cool thing. And not only that, but you can upload YouTube videos and like you can basically use it as an editor.
And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. So I've been told. It says my YouTube stream.
As you can see, you can like upload different media. I was just playing around with it. This isn't much of anything at all, but you can take out all the retakes. You could take out all the filler words. You could take out, you can make it isolate the most important, the most interesting things that you say in here. What else can you do? You can make clips from your YouTube. So I think this one, let's see.
The value of each
I made this into a YouTube short.
The outcome of a hand.
So this thing, I mean, it's advertising one of the books that I did, and I used this video that I had to create that. I imported like the title card of it. Super easy to click and drag everything, but this is a game changer for anybody who makes YouTube videos. And like, I'm a professional tool. I am a professional tool, but besides that, I'm a professional and I work full time. And dude, doing this on top of a full time job is awful. I do not recommend it, especially if you haven't already done it in life. Then it's nearly impossible to pick up these skills like on the download. But I recommend this to get the ball rolling. What's up, Bibble? I'm live on YouTube over here. Hello on YouTube. I'm live on TikTok. It's so late. I can't. I'm making so many mistakes. It's crazy. I'm making so many mistakes. Too many mistakes, guys. Too many mistakes. What up, Quincy? Good to see Quincy. All right. Thanks for the gifter badge, Bibble. I appreciate that. Is that coffee? That is not coffee. That is not coffee. If that were coffee, we would have a horrible time tonight. I didn't even gift. It said you did. It said you're the number one gifter. Thanks for being the number one gifter. All right. Well, because, hold up. I want to make sure I give Mr. Get the Bash a follow. Thank you for popping in tonight. I appreciate you. All right. Let's see. Nice. I heard you correcting yourself a lot. Very thorough. Thank you. I'll let you get back into it. Yeah, feel free to pop in however you like. You know what? I try to put it into perspective. This book is due tomorrow, and we're about 60% of the way through. I've been working all day on it, and I think I've gone from like around 40% to 60%. So we've got another 40% left, which is like do what I just did today by spending all day doing it and do it twice. So I'm trying to not get myself down, but man, we got so much to do. So I'm sort of on the verge. I'm thinking like, dude, should I just like go to bed or something? Because like, I know I'm making so many mistakes that it might be beneficial if I just go to bed. But at the same time, I feel like I can make at least a little bit more of a difference if we go to like 1:30, maybe 2. So we'll see. Thank you so much, though. I appreciate the view, and I definitely gave you a follow, so thank you. Oh my gosh. Bibble, what's up, Bibble? Good to see you, Bibble. Hello. Yeah, it would be a terrible time because like I would be up all night and then I would have the jitters. That's why it would be a terrible time. Wait, I think I stopped at holistic solution. But the way I had 2 cups like 1 hour, 2 hours ago and not affected. You say that. Okay. Actually, all right. Like, I'm actually concerned. Yeah, no, don't be concerned. Absolutely not. No, don't be concerned. All right, let's see. All right, here we go. Causes, effects, connections, and dependencies. This helps to better understand each component and reveals hidden connections between the elements of the problem, ultimately leading to more accurate conclusions. An example of applying analytical thinking is the process is the process of solving a complex equation in mathematics. The equation is first broken down into separate steps. Each action is analyzed and simplified until the final solution is found. In this way, the rationalist approach avoids confusion and error by providing a logical path to solving the problem. This method is applicable in a wide range of fields, from logic and mathematics to philosophy and natural sciences. Decomposing the complex into the simple allows you to focus on the basic elements of the problem, which makes it more accessible to analyze and solve. E. Mathematical modeling. A key component of the rationalist method is the application of mathematical principles and models to explain and predict phenomena. Mathematics is based on strict logical rules. Provides rationalists with the ability to derive precise and universal laws applicable to both physical processes and abstract philosophical problems. Mathematical modeling allows complex phenomena of the world. I like how clunky that is. Mathematical modeling allows complex phenomena of the world to be described in precise mathematical terms, which helps to understand patterns and interactions in nature. For example, disciplines such as physics or economics use mathematical models to explain the dynamics of systems, predict their behavior, and identify cause and effect relationships. These models can range from equations describing the motion of planets to probability theories used to analyze complex events. Rationalists value mathematics for its ability to provide irrefutable proofs and formulas. Rationalists value mathematics for its ability to provide irrefutable proofs and formulas that are independent of subjective observation and experience. For example, Newton's laws in physics or theorems in geometry are the result of mathematical
are the result of mathematical models and proofs that can be applied regardless of specific conditions and time. Regardless of specific conditions and time. In addition, mathematical modeling, dude, holy shit, how many fucking times? In addition, mathematical modeling helps not only to explain current phenomena, but also to predict future behaviors. But also to predict the future behavior of systems, with a high degree of certainty. This makes it a powerful tool for those who seek to comprehend universal laws that underlie both material and abstract reality. The rationalist method in the context of philosophy. In Reflections on First Philosophy, René Descartes applies the rationalist method, beginning with radical doubt and reaching the undeniable statement, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I exist. Using deductive reasoning, René Descartes builds his philosophical system by asserting the primacy of reason in knowledge. Descartes begins with radical doubt, discarding everything that could be questioned. However, he discovers that doubt itself presupposes thinking. Doubt itself presupposes thinking, and thinking presupposes existence. Hence, the fact of its existence as a thinking being is indubitable. Indubitable? You guys read that? Oh my god, why am I not broadcasting? Hold up. Why is this not broadcasting? Why is that not on there? Why are you not on there? Why are you not on there? Hold up. Script. Bam. Oops. You guys see that? Indubitable? Indubitable? What does that mean? Indubitable. Indubitable? Indubitable. 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 Indubitably. Yes, yes, indeed, indubitably. Indubitably. Hence, the fact of its existence as a thinking being is indubitable. 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 Is indubitable. Descartes concludes that if he exists as a thinking being, he can trust his rational faculties. Since reason allows him to realize his experience, reason can also be used can also be used to comprehend other truths. Descartes concludes that reason is the primary instrument of cognition. That reason is the primary instrument of cognition and is capable of grasping fundamental truths. And is capable of grasping fundamental truths. An example of Benedict Spinoza's use of rational method. An example of Benedict Spinoza's use of the rational method can be found in his treatise Ethics. Spinoza's rational method is based on the use of reason and logic to deduce truths from fundamental principles.
Trying to figure out if whatever's running is audible on here. I don't know what is running down there, but if it's like AC or heat or what, but let's see. Okay. I don't really hear it. I think I can get rid of it with the low pass, but I don't know. I definitely see it on the radar. It's a little blip. What's up, Queen? What up, Queen? Good to see you. Hello.
An example of Benedict Spinoza's use of the rational method can be found in his treatise Ethics. Spinoza's rational method is based on the use of reason and logic. Is based on the use of reason and logic to deduce truths from. Let me just start over because it stopped. An example of Benedict Spinoza's use of the rational method can be found in his treatise Ethics. Spinoza's rational method is based on the use of reason and logic to deduce truths from general principles. One key example is his proof of the existence of God. Spinoza begins by defining God as a substance composed of infinite attributes, each of which expresses an eternal and infinite essence. He also introduces the axiom that substance itself, by itself, and is independent of anything else. From these definitions and axioms, Spinoza concludes that God must necessarily exist. From these definitions and axioms, Spinoza concludes that God must necessarily exist. His reasoning is as follows. If substance itself, if substance exists by itself and is independent of anything else, axiom. And if God is a substance with infinite attributes, definition, then God must exist since substance by nature necessarily exists. Spinoza further writes that since everything that exists must derive from this substance, God, all nature and all phenomena in it are expressions of the divine essence. Spinoza uses the rational method to show that the entire world is subject to the logical laws derived from the nature of God. Everything that exists by necessity and reason everything that exists by necessity and reason is the instrument for apprehending this necessity. Dude, I'm getting so tied up in this. This is not even clear logic, to be honest. It's just okay. Let's read this. A substance composed of infinite attributes, each of which expresses an eternal and infinite essence. Substance exists by itself and is independent of anything else. From these axioms concludes that God must necessarily exist. Bro, that's a non sequitur, dude. That's a complete non sequitur. I'm sorry, but that is a non sequitur. What do you mean? A substance composed of infinite attributes, each of which expresses an eternal and infinite essence. What? What are you talking about? Spinoza further writes that everything exists must derive from this substance. All nature and all phenomena in it are expressions of this divine essence. What about the infinite pool of possibility of things that could exist? What about that? It just doesn't make sense to me. What you're saying doesn't necessarily follow with what you're saying. If we think about all of the possible real numbers, that exists, correct? What's the limitations of existence? Are we putting the limitations on existence only the infinite real numbers, or are we taking all of the infinite fractions? How about the infinite to infinite amounts of decimal places? Are we talking about the infinity of imaginary numbers, for example? The things that exist in your mind, are they real or are they not? And if they're not real and you experience them, then how is that not experience? How does that not in some capacity existing, because it exists in your mind. It is amazing to me how the limitations that you've just set now don't conform to the things that exist within your mind, So the things that exist in your mind, those are outside God, I guess. But you just said it's the infinite
infinity. So should it not therefore encapsulate that? It doesn't, your definition doesn't grab on to what I perceive as things that exist in the world. It just doesn't, what you've said just doesn't follow. What you said doesn't follow. Spinoza's like totally, no, I don't agree with that at all, dude. The monadology, dude. Leibniz. What are you talking about? Tierra K. What's up, Tierra K? Good to see you, Tierra K. All right, we got to look this up. What is the monadology? Monadology. Okay. We got a definition for it. You guys ready?
Monadology or monadology.
Monadology.
Monadology or monadology.
Monadology, I guess. Define it for me. Monadology is one of the Gottfried Leibniz best known works of his later philosophy, yada yada, this, that, and the other thing. Whatever. Leibniz. Let's see what you got, Leibniz. Let's see what you got, Leibniz. Thanks for the shot. Thanks for the shares, Bibbles. I appreciate it. In the monadology, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz developed the ideas of rationalism, describing the world as consisting of monads, simple, indivisible, structureless substances. Simple, indivisible, structureless substances that are the basic units of reality. Leibniz explains the nature of monads and their interrelationships on the basis of rational principles. Leibniz begins by saying that monads are the true atoms of nature and the elements of things. The elements of things. Monads have no expression, form, or division. They are the simple substances that make up all reality. They are the simple substances that make up all reality. Leibniz uses deduction to explain that each monad is unique and completely closed to outside influence. Since monads do not interact with each other directly, they act according to an internal principle, pre-established harmony. This means that all monads act as if they are harmonized with each other in advance. And this harmony is established by God.
Leibniz reasoned that if monads have no physical interaction with each other, then their coordinated behavior must be the result of divine pre-establishment. He concludes that God, as the supreme monad, created the world in such a way that all monads develop in harmony with each other despite their independence. In this example, Leibniz uses the rational method to explain the nature of monads, and their interaction with a pre-established harmony. He begins with basic rational principles and through a series of logical deductions explains the complex structure of reality. Examples of the use of the rational method in literary works. An example of the use of the rational method in a literary work. Clarice. The novel Invisible Man by Herbert Wells. Is a story in which the rational method becomes not just a means to an end, but the main engine of the plot, which leads the hero to tragedy. The protagonist, Griffin, a scientist obsessed with the idea of invisibility, follows the path of logic and scientific inquiry, stopping at nothing. His research is precise and meticulous. He sees them as a way to transcend the boundaries of the possible. And achieve the unimaginable to become invisible. Griffin uses his intellect as a tool in pursuit of a discovery that could turn the world upside down. The scientist's every move is dictated by cold calculation. Rational reflection leads him through complex scientific hypotheses. To the ultimate goal of invisibility. This process is described in detail in the novel. Wells immerses the reader in the world of physics and chemistry, explaining how Griffin arrives at his discoveries. Everything Griffin does has a solid scientific basis. He reasons logically, avoids emotion, and focuses solely on results. Therein lies his strength and his tragedy. In the pursuit of scientific triumph, overcomes reality, pushing such concepts such as morality and humanity out of his consciousness. For Griffin, people are merely objects for experimentation or obstacles in his path. The rational method that led the scientist to his great discovery becomes the cause of his inner decay. Wells shows how a mind deprived of its emotional and ethical components can lead to self-destruction. The invisibility to which Griffin had longed turns into a symbol of his total isolation from the world, from people, and ultimately from himself. His scientific achievement, which seemed the pinnacle of reason, becomes his curse. Becomes his curse. Griffin loses touch with humanity. And his logical reasoning can no longer help him. Find his way back. Invisible Man is not just science fiction. It is a warning and a profound exploration of what can happen to human beings. When the mind is deprived of moral control. Immortality leads to tragedy. And even the most outstanding scientific discoveries cannot justify actions that lack human feelings and morality. Oh, man. Dude, chapter 11. 11 out of 14. Man. You're doing great, Eric. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, that was more than a bit. I'm back for now. Good to see you, Kirsten. What's up, Kirsten? Hello. Man. Yeah, right. Wouldn't that be nice? I would appreciate some sleep for sure, but no sleep for the wicked. And we're up here being a Wiccan. Up like a Wiccan. Got like a chicken. Let's see. My head's cut off like a chicken. So I wish, but we're on chapter 11 out of 14. We are 133 out of 207. So what's our fraction right now? So 133 out of 207. We are 64% of the way through. So we're just over half. Just over half. Ooh. Here we go. We'll see where I'm at after this chapter. I don't know. We'll see where I'm at after this chapter. I think this is a longer chapter, right? 145. Let's see. 145 minus 133. What is that? It's easy math. It's 12. 12 pages. Yeah, we could do this. When does this one need to be done by? Today. Because it's the 21st now, so today, technically. The end of today. Chapter 11, Critical Method. Thank you. A scientific theory can never be proved, but it can be disproved. Karl Popper, The Logic of Scientific Inquiry. Definition. The critical method is an approach to research and analysis. The critical method is an approach to research and analysis that is based on systematically questioning, analyzing, and evaluating all aspects of the subject under study. The critical method involves the systematic use of logic, rational thought, and empirical evidence to scrutinize claims and theories. The purpose of this method is to identify weaknesses in arguments, find contradictions or errors, and strive to find true and valid conclusions. The critical method requires a rigorous analysis of each element of a theory in order to evaluate its validity and logical validity. It involves fact-checking. Using evidence and empirical data and applying logical laws to identify errors or flaws in reasoning. Landmark figures: Immanuel Kant, Karl Popper, Jürgen Habermas. All right, we got 5 seconds into it. We got to look up. Is it Jürgen Habermas? Or is it Jürgen? Jürgen, my turkey. All right. Jürgen off. Jürgen Habermas. He's a German philosopher. Habermas. Jürgen Habermas. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Moss. Jürgen Habermas. What up, Joe Mama? I wish you lived in Oregon so we can hang out. Hey, thank you. You know what, Oregon? Maybe Oregon one day. All right, let's see what we got here. Jürgen Habermas. Thank you so much for the tiny donnies and heart puffs. Thank you, Peaches. Thank you, Peaches. Thank you, Peaches. Thank you, Peaches. Thank you for the heart puffs. Thank you for the tiny donnies. I don't know. I don't really care anymore. Yeah, this is Habermas, like Habermass. H is in high, A is in like father, B, A is in bad. Ass. How dare you make me say that? No, but it says that you can also say it like moss. So I'm going to say like moss. Yeah, but they all start with ha, though. Oh, yeah. Welcome, times 40. Thank you. 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 Yeah, I don't know. I'll never know. Jürgen Habermas. Jürgen Habermas. Application. The critical method is used in various fields: philosophy, science, sociology, and literature, to analyze and evaluate theories, claims, and cultural phenomena in depth. In philosophy, it serves as a tool for identifying weaknesses in arguments. Testing the validity of ideas, and searching for more accurate and convincing conclusions. Blah. 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 No, I appreciate you. Thank you for double checking me. I do definitely appreciate that. So thank you for double checking for me. It's always nice to have somebody double checking. So I appreciate that. Thank you. In philosophy, it serves as a tool for identifying weaknesses. In arguments, testing the validity of ideas, and searching for more accurate and convincing conclusions. In science, the critical method is used to evaluate hypotheses, experiments, and conclusions based on empirical data, to identify logical fallacies, and to improve scientific knowledge. In sociology and literature, this method helps to analyze social and cultural phenomena, to critique existing ideas and structures, and to parse texts to identify biases, contradictions or hidden meanings. Critical examination and discussion allow not only to verify the validity of information, but also to develop new approaches, improving understanding of issues under discussion. The main components of the critical method are A. Systematic doubt. A key element of the critical method is systematic doubt, the principle that every assertion is questioned until its truth is verified and proven. This approach seeks to avoid the errors and biases that can arise when information is hastily taken on faith. Doubt is applied to all statements, including those that seem obvious or generally accepted. The purpose of systematic doubt is, thank you so much, Taylor, thank you. The purpose of systematic doubt is to identify possible weaknesses in an argument and to test whether claims are based on reliable facts, rationale, or solid evidence. This component of the critical method was inspired by the work of René Descartes who in his famous principle, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I exist, called for questioning everything except the act of thinking itself. Systematic questioning helps to avoid illusions, errors, and prejudices, opening the way to more accurate and verified knowledge. B. Analysis and evaluation. The critical method involves in-depth analysis and evaluation of all aspects of subject under study, including context, arguments, and evidence. This component requires a logical and rational approach to scrutinize all sides of an issue. The aim is to assess the plausibility of arguments, their logical consistency, and their consistency with the evidence. Critical analysis involves deconstructing arguments, breaking them down into their constituent parts to identify possible errors, inconsistencies, or contradictions. This allows us to identify weaknesses in the logic. And to offer a more reasonable understanding of the subject. Arguments are evaluated on the basis of their logical consistency, adequacy of evidence, and connection to real facts, which makes the critical method an important tool for sound research and testing of theories. C. C. Empirical verification. An integral part of the critical method is empirical testing, which involves the use of observations and experimental data to confirm or refute theories and claims. The critical approach assumes that any theory or hypothesis must be supported by facts, and if this support is lacking, the assertion requires revision or even refutation. This component closely links the critical method to the scientific approach, where the testing of hypotheses through experience and observation is central. Theories cannot be empirically tested. Theories that cannot be empirically tested are questioned and cannot be considered reliable. D. Dialogue and discussion. Open and honest dialogue plays an important role in the critical method because it creates a space for the exchange of views, arguments, and counter-arguments. This process allows participants to identify errors, biases, and false conclusions that may not be obvious when analyzed alone. Dialogue that includes different perspectives helps to deepen understanding of the problem and reach a more objective and proven conclusion. The debate also serves as a way to test personal beliefs for validity. for validity. When a person is confronted with opposing arguments, this situation encourages them to reconsider their positions by identifying weaknesses and strengthening stronger arguments. This critical method, through dialogue, avoids narrow interpretations. E. Reflexivity. Reflexivity is an important part of the critical method, involving self-reflection and critical examination of one's own assumptions, methods, and conclusions. It allows the researcher to be conscious of his or her approach, to revise and improve the process of learning as new evidence or arguments emerge. Reflexivity requires the ability to be self-critical, to admit mistakes, and to be willing to change one's beliefs if they are no longer consistent with new evidence. Let me try that one more time. If they are no longer consistent with new evidence. This component of the critical method promotes continuous improvement in thinking. The researcher should analyze not only what other people's arguments, but also his or her own, asking, what are my premises based on, or do my conclusions correspond to new information? Reflection helps to avoid dogmatism and bias, promoting flexibility of thought and openness to new ideas. The critical method in the context of philosophy. Immanuel Kant developed the critical method as a way of investigating the possibilities and limits of human reason. In The Critique of Pure Reason, he explores the structure of reason, analyzing what we can know a priori and what requires empirical confirmation, determining the possibilities and limits of what can be known, and how the structures of reason shape our perception of the world. Karl Popper is known for his writings on the philosophy of science, where he developed the concept of falsifiability as a critical method of testing scientific theories. He argued that scientific hypotheses should be testable and refutable, not just confirmable. Popper wrote that in any science one can find many cases where hypotheses are supported but not true. The problem is that you can find many examples that agree with a hypothesis, but that does not mean that the hypothesis is true in the general case. For example, the statement, all swans are white, can be supported by many observations of white swans, but just one observation of a black swan disproves the statement. Popper insisted that true scientific theories must be fundamentally falsifiable, i.e., it must be possible to present such observations or experiments that could disprove the theory. This is the only way to test the strength and reliability of a scientific hypothesis. If a theory cannot be disproved under any circumstances, then it is not scientific, but rather belongs to the sphere of metaphysics or ideology. According to Popper, falsifiability leads to the fact that scientific knowledge becomes more reliable and stable because a theory has undergone many tests and has not been refuted. Scientific knowledge becomes more reliable and stable because a theory has undergone many tests and has not been refuted, has a better chance of being close to the truth. This does not guarantee its absolute truth, but increases its scientific value. But it increases its scientific value. Popper believed that the introduction of the thesis of the necessity of refutability leads to scientific progress. When a hypothesis is criticized in test for refutation, it is either confirmed as having stood up to scrutiny or replaced by a new, more accurate hypothesis. Thus, science is constantly moving forward, purging its theories of errors, and moving closer to the truth. Through the process of eliminating misconceptions. It should be emphasized that Popper did not claim that any theory will necessarily be disproved. On the contrary, theories that undergo numerous attempts at refutation become more reliable. Truth, according to Popper, is a process, not an end state. Scientific truth is something that withstands criticism and scrutiny. Remaining in line until a theory emerges that better explains phenomena. Until a theory emerges that better explains phenomena and is also tested. Ooh, what's up, Brian Kelly? Good to see you, Brian Kelly. I can barely see.
I can barely see. What's up, man? How you doing? How you doing, man? I can barely see right now. Ah. Woo. We're on chapter 11 of 14. We are 138 out of 207. So we're nearing the final stretch. But you know how that goes. Eric, if you can't see, you need sleep. Yeah, right. You're telling me. Making that house payment? Pff, shucks. All 68 cents of it. You know me. Making that house payment. Woo. Okay. We're at Jürgen Habermas. Yo, Penny, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. I don't think I've seen you before, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a follow as well. Thank you. If you're doing this for 68 cents, yeah, it depends. They said that the sales are doing pretty well, so I'm going to trust them on that. But yeah, if it sells once, then it's about 68 cents. So, if my mama buys it, then we're looking at 68 cents. But if everybody else buys it, then it's gonna be something different. He says that it's pretty popular with like students and stuff. So maybe we'll see. Maybe I might make more with this one live than I will with the sales on the audiobook. But let's see, estimated from this live 20 cents. Maybe. Thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let's see what I got. Jürgen Habermas has utilized the critical method in his studies of communication and social structures. In works such as A Theory of Communicative Action, Jürgen Habermas analyzes how dialogue and discussion can be used to identify and address systematic distortions in social and political systems. The critical method is an important tool for analyzing and evaluating theories, claims, and cultural phenomena through systematic doubt, logical reasoning, and empirical verification. Examples from the works of Immanuel Kant, Karl Popper, Franz Kafka, and George Orwell illustrate how this method is applied to analyze and interpret various aspects of reality and human experience. An example of the use of the critical method in literary works. In the novel The Trial, Franz Kafka creates a dark and disturbing picture by exploring important themes such as bankruptcy, absurdity, and injustice. The story centers on the life of Joseph K., an ordinary bank clerk who suddenly finds himself embroiled in a ridiculous and impersonal court system. Although Joseph K. does not know what he is accused of,
and is never given a clear explanation of his guilt, his life is gradually thrown into chaos. His life is gradually thrown into chaos by the relentless harassment by the state authorities. The judicial system that Joseph K. encounters is full of ridiculous rules, meaningless procedures, and soulless executors. This system seems to be the This system seems to the hero something hostile and incomprehensible, something he cannot control or even understand. In this world, laws become an instrument of suppression rather than an instrument of justice. Joseph K. gradually realizes that he will not be able to find a logical explanation for what is happening or to achieve justice. Each attempt to understand the situation only deepens his confusion and despair. Through this story, Kafka reveals the absurdity of existence in a world where laws and rules have no meaning and where a person can be destroyed for no reason. Man. 27 minutes in. We're at 139. I think we're going to like 145. 145, basically 145. Franz Kafka bucks me. Oh no. Thank you for the finger hearts. I appreciate that. I think he had some pretty poetic things that he said that I've seen on Instagram made into videos. I've been like pretty into like some of the videos that he's made. Some of the things that he said have been extremely eloquent, but I'm curious what you mean by they bug you. Summer, what's up, Summer? Good to see you, Summer. Hello. Thank you so much for the finger arts. Thank you. All right. I'm going to finish out this chapter and then make some drink and then hit chapter 12. Thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate that, Taylor. An example of the use of the critical method in the trial. A. Systematic doubt. Throughout the novel, Joseph K. questions the validity and logic of the judicial system in which he finds himself. His quest to understand what he is being tried for and the nature of his alleged crime is met with a complete lack of reasonable answers. The court hearings and interrogations he faces seem ridiculous and devoid of meaning, leading him to question the very nature of justice. Kafka uses systematic doubt as a tool to reveal the absurdity and irrationality of the judicial system. Joseph K. does not simply accept his fate, but he actively tries to figure out what is going on. What is going on? And in this process of doubt, he is confronted with the fact that he is surrounded by an impenetrable wall of bureaucracy that defies any rational explanation. B. Analysis and evaluation. Kafka, through his hero, deeply analyzes the bureaucratic system, showing its irrationality and cruelty. Joseph K. finds himself in a world where rules and laws exist for their own sake, not for the sake of justice or order. Always, Bibble, always. He sees how officials and judges who are supposed to uphold the law, do not themselves realize what they are doing and perform their duties mechanically without regard for human lives. Kafka shows how bureaucracy becomes a self-perpetuating force, subjugating everything and everyone. The system that is supposed to protect people, becomes a source of fear and suppression. And even those who work in it cannot escape its cruel clutches. Yeah, maybe. This analysis brings to the surface the problem of alienation and dehumanization that arises under conditions of total bureaucracy. C. Empirical validation. Although the novel is allegorical in nature, Kafka uses realistic details in situations to critically analyze social and legal institutions. The descriptions of courts, interrogations, and interactions with officials are reminiscent of scenes in real life, which heightens the sense of horror when dealing with the bureaucratic system. Kafka shows that even in the real world, people can face similar situations where laws and justice become abstract concepts that have no relation to real life. The empirical test in this context is that Kafka creates a world where absurdity becomes the norm, and where reality is so absurd and inexorable that it cannot be logically explained. This reinforces the critical charge of the novel by showing that even in everyday life, such situations can arise, leaving individuals helpless in the face of incomprehensible and impersonal forces.
Check 1 2. Check 3 4. Okay. I wanted to see if there was a level change when I turned that up, but there wasn't. So we're good. Hi, Bibs. What's up, Bibs? Yeah, you're always making me nervous. What's the deal, Bibs? What's the deal? All right. So we got George Orwell to read, and we got A through E to read on George Orwell on his 1984 novel, published in 1949. Okay. I bet he was writing it in 1948 and was like, yo, what if we like swap these numbers though? And then wrote 1984 in 1948, and it just like got released like way too late, because like dude's kind of like me where he's like putting everything off to the last second, and like Big Brother's always watching, you know. He's like, what you doing, dude? What you doing? What's in your pockets, bro? Turn out your pockets. Run me your shit. George Orwell's 1984. George Orwell's novel 1984, published in 1949, is one of the most famous and significant literary works of the 20th century, in which the author critically examines the nature of totalitarian regimes and mechanisms of social control. Orwell describes a dystopian world where political structures completely subjugate people's consciousness and freedom, destroying any manifestations of individuality and resistance. This novel is a warning of what can happen if democracy and human rights are lost. In the novel 1984, Orwell shows a dystopian future in which the state, represented by the party, controls every aspect of the lives of its citizens. Totalitarianism reaches its peak in a time where technology allows for the surveillance of every move and thought of an individual. Technological surveillance and manipulation of information become the primary tools of power through which the party suppresses freedom. Orwell wrote 1984 at a time where there was still no interest. At a time where there was still no interest, no internet, no cell phones, and no electronic money, Yet somehow, in some unfathomable way, Orwell was able to see today and was horrified by what he saw.
and was horrified by what he saw. In the novel, Orwell showed with stunning accuracy the party's total control over the population. What is happening today? The central character of the novel, Winston Smith, lives in London, which has become part of the state of Oceania. This society is controlled by a party led by Big Brother, a symbol of absolute power and omniscience. The party rewrites history, manipulates facts, and uses propaganda to create the illusion of the only true reality. Any deviation from the official party line is punished with brutal repression. Winston, working in the Ministry of Truth, is responsible for falsifying historical records, but gradually begins to doubt the truth of the world around him. Of the world around him. An example of the use of the critical method in 1984. A. Systematic doubt. The main character, Winston Smith, represents a man who does not take for granted what the party tells him. He constantly questions the veracity of the information given to him by official sources. Winston realizes that what is broadcast on television and printed in newspapers is not only a version of reality that the party has created. Winston realizes that what is broadcast on television and printed in newspapers is only a version of reality, is only a version of reality that the party has created to control society. These doubts lead him to search for the truth and try to understand what is really going on. Winston seeks to realize that there is an alternative reality hidden from the eyes of the majority. And that there is something more behind the facade of totalitarian ideology. His doubts push him to look critically at the world around him and find ways to resist. B. Analysis and evaluation. George Orwell in the novel analyzes and criticizes the totalitarian system, showing how it uses manipulation and control of consciousness to suppress freedom. The party controls not only people's actions, but also their thoughts through the so-called doublethink, the ability to believe two contradictory statements at the same time. This allows the party to control the mass consciousness, shape a false reality, and destroy any attempts of dissent. Winston Smith, reflecting on the nature of the party's power, sees how the system uses propaganda, violence, and fear to maintain its power. To maintain its power. His analysis leads him to realize that the purpose of the party is not to serve the people, but to have absolute control over all aspects of life. Through this analysis, Orwell shows how totalitarianism destroys freedom, suppresses the individual, and turns people into wordless instruments of power. C. Empirical validation. Empirical validation. Orwell emphasizes that Winston tries to find evidence in facts that contradict the official version of events. This eagerness to check reality becomes an important element of his internal struggle. Winston realizes that without realizing the truth, it is impossible to resist lies. And so he searches for facts that could confirm his doubts. In his attempts, he encounters the lies and distortions that permeate every aspect of life in Oceania. These empirical tests, although leading to frustration and realization of hopelessness, become important to understand the depth and totality of the party's control. D. Dialogue and discussion. Winston's inner monologue and his conversations with other characters such as Julia and O'Brien reveal his critical views of society. Julia, Winston's mistress, represents the opposite approach to resistance. She focuses on enjoying the present moment and openly violating the prohibitions of the party. In contrast to her, Winston seeks to understand and destroy the system itself from within. The dialogues with O'Brien, an influential member of the party, who at first an influential member of the party who at first appears to be Winston's ally and then turns out to be his main enemy. Play a key role in revealing the ideological depth of the novel. O'Brien, while maintaining the appearance of dialogue, actually demonstrate the full power and brutality of totalitarian control, convincing Winston that resistance is futile and the search for truth is only an illusion. E. Reflection. Reflection is an important aspect of the critical method used in the novel. Winston Smith is constantly He's constantly reflecting on his situation, how he got into this world, and his role in it. His reflections lead to deep introspection and critical thinking about the world around him. He realizes that he lives in a society. He lives in a society where personal freedom is destroyed, and every person is under constant supervision and control. These thoughts lead him to seek a way out of the system. Although he realizes the danger and complexity of this path. Winston analyzes not only the external world, but his inner experiences. Winston analyzes not only the external world, but also his inner experiences, trying to find a connection between his desire for freedom and the reality in which he exists. Reflection becomes an important tool in this inner struggle to maintain his humanity in the face of total repression. I have often mentally returned to this book and to the personality of George Orwell. On the other hand, the writer was against tyranny and total control. On the one hand, the writer was against tyranny and total control. On the other hand, in the 1990s, the documents of the IRD, Information Research Department, a department of the British Foreign Office, created in 1948 to counteract communist propaganda. At the same time collecting information about all those whom the government considered unreliable, were declassified. George Orwell voluntarily and secretly from everyone cooperated with this department. Among the declassified documents, they found a list of 38 names compiled by Orwell. In fact, a banal denunciation of famous people for some reason. A banal denunciation of famous people who for some reason did not like Orwell. Among the people on Orwell's list were writers George Bernard Shaw and John Ernest Steinbeck, actors Charlie Chaplin, winner of several Oscars, Katharine Hepburn, directors, poets, playwrights, each of the names like a bright star in the sky, idols of millions. And they are all in George Orwell's denunciation. Did Orwell realize that by doing so, he could destroy the careers and lives of all these people? He could destroy the careers and lives of all these people. Surely he did. Surely he did. He couldn't have been unaware. He couldn't have been unaware. From a human point of view, it was a mean stab in the back from the dark. In real life, George Orwell did what those he condemned in his books did. In real life, George Orwell did what those he condemned in his books did. Man, what a scathing review of George Orwell. Didn't know I'd be reading such passionate denunciation of George Orwell there. I did not expect that. So we got 12, we got 13, we got 14. We got 3 more chapters to do. We're on page 145. Minus 207, which means we are 62 pages away from the end. I can't read anymore. I want to be nosy, but I don't want to wake anyone with the door opening. I think the first message that you sent might have been cut off because I didn't see what you had said prior to that. We're about 2 in the morning right now. I feel like I could keep going and probably finish up around 3:45, 4 in the morning. Or I could just stop and I could fall asleep and I could wake up early in the morning and do it and probably be better off with my voice and everything. So I might take that path. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I super appreciate it. Thank you. We're on chapter 12, the existential method, and we're going to pick up there tomorrow morning. But for right now, you know what? It would be it'd be crazy all night. It would be crazy. And I have done it before, but I don't know. Love you, Eric, but it's 3 a.m. I've got to be up at 6. Yo, same though. Same. I am right there with you. I am about to skedaddle because honestly, I could keep going. I really could keep going. And I have before. I have gone all night, but I think my best move here is to we did a good amount tonight. We got up to chapter 12, which is fantastic. But 12, 13, 14, we're right there at the end. We can do it tomorrow morning. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same quality basically, but maybe even a little bit better. So I'm going to put this up. Put that away. And say good night to everybody. I'm going to say good night. When you can, let me know when you think about the beach photos. Absolutely, we'll do that. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I super appreciate you. Kirsten K, thank you so much for popping in. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for all the love. You guys got me up to 2.7 thousand likes. That's crazy. That is crazy. You guys are awesome for doing that. I super appreciate that. Guys, if you are on any other platform, I am on reader.rick over on TikTok, and that's where I'm doing a lot of my broadcast over here. Everyone follow Eric on all socials. Hold up, let me approve that. There we go. Thank you. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Audible at Eric Pullman, and TikTok at reader.rick. Yo, absolutely. That is where we're at tonight, and I super appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you. And that's all I got for tonight. I'm going to refresh my voice with a little bit of drink. I'm going to go to bed for a couple hours, wake up, and do this earlier in the morning. So love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Brian, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Peaches, good to see you, but we are signing off here in a second.
good to see you. And Queen Toxic, thank you so much for watching as well. I super appreciate you. And you guys have a wonderful night. Sleep well, sleep tight, and glad to have read you a bedtime story. We'll be back for another. Love you. All right, guys. I think that's it for us. You guys stay classy out there. Thanks so much for, man, it was bussing for a while, so I super appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for chilling for so long. YouTube, you guys are fantastic. Twitch, a lot of you guys were chilling in the chat tonight. Thank you so much, though, for watching. And if you get any benefit from this, please give it a like. It definitely helps me out. Definitely helps me out with the subscribes as well, because I'm trying to hit the YouTube partner so I can do this full time. So I definitely appreciate that. You guys are awesome, though, to chill however you like. And thank you so much for watching.